Okay, so moving on to other technologies, we've dealt with pulp and paper. There's plenty of others. We're always hearing about side streams and everything else. So, what other products that are based on fossil fuels have the possibility to being made out of fibre? Can we move on to that subject, starting with you?
Yeah, we've made at CEPI a compilation of all these what we call science fiction products, etc., that we could make out of wood. And we tend to say that the sky is the limit in that respect. So we can probably replace all fossil-based products with renewable-based and fiber-based products in Europe. It's more a matter of time when it will come and hit the market. But I'm used to say that I dream of the iPad 10 that would be made of lignin-based carbon fiber for the body, printed electronics for the motherboard, and nano-based touchscreen on top of it. And I think all in all, it might not be that unrealistic as an idea. And when we've made this compilation, we see car parts, we see fuels, we see chemicals, we see textile material, we see all this which is already there and not necessarily known by consumers and customers, or which is just around the corner. So I think, indeed, I mean, and probably all the colleagues here around the table will agree and come up with concrete examples, etc. But there is plenty that is to come, and I would say let's be ready to be surprised.
Yeah, textile industry is very interesting. We have developed during the last years a process which make it possible to make dissolving pulp in continuous cooking systems, and the dissolving pulp is then used as a base for textile fibers. And this is something that is growing very much right now, and it's very interesting and those fibers you can of course make clothes, and you can use it as we heard in interior of cars, and why should we not start to say that grow your own car, because you can both make the parts but also the fuel that you use in the car out of wood. Yeah. So that is a good slogan for this industry. So.
And locally grown textiles sounds very Scandinavian locally grown textiles sound very interesting. And I think one focus will also be in the years to come to use all the components of wood. We can do a lot of fantastic things with cellulose, but we shouldn't also forget the lignin part. As you mentioned, Johan, there's a lot of actions now going on extracting the lignin, which today is mostly used as fuel. Can you valorize that? It's also a huge potential. And one thing that we will see more of in the years to come is the potential to valorize lignin to carbon fibers. So you can have a really, really strong material that's today used based on fossil materials, oil-based materials, and do that from the wood instead. That's a huge potential. And we could potentially open up a mass market for carbon fibers. That will be several years until we hit that road, but there's a lot of usage for carbon fibers that maybe don't need the strong restrictions as an airplane or a car that we will see. But I think that's one strong area where will we see development in the years to come.
Okay. Elina.
VTT is developing also these technologies, so this dissolving pulp, so we can use old jeans and get the cellulose out of it and make new dresses. So that is really exciting. And also one spin-off company from VTT, Spinnova, they are making fiber yarn only from using wood fibers, so not any dissolve process. So I think there is a lot of going on in this area, and you mentioned the lignin, also this. So ligniox and cat lignin processes are developed by VTT, and it's interesting to make a cooperation, for example, with Andritz and other companies with this.
Esa, anything to add on side streams and new products?
Not so much about the side streams, but coming back what Johan said about cotton. And you said that it's a challenging material, a challenging thing because of it consumes a lot of water and it takes a lot of fields. But there is also a third point. It's usually grown in the areas where the population is growing the fastest. So actually it like doubles the effect, because those fields should be used for other purposes than growing cotton. And there is a lot happening. The dissolving pulp route is one thing. Then like Elina mentioned, the Spinnova way of using the wood fibers in a much more direct way. So let the fibers be as they are, but just find the right way how to tie them together and create the yarn that way. A very large share of the non-wovens and textiles used in Europe are sourced from Far East. Now we would maybe shift this or change this so that we would have the whole value chain from the raw material sourcing through the production of the fibers or yarns to textiles. We could shift this back to Europe, and that's a big thing, and that's a message that we need to take to the EU to realize this.
Building on your comment, Bernard, on the bio-based iPad vision, I mean, it's not so far-fetched. There's a lot of research now going into paper electronics, and not just printing on paper using it as a substrate, making an integrated part in electronics, which I think is very, very fascinating. We have seen already today that by combining nanocellulose and polymers, we can make super capacitors that's really competitive compared to what we have today. And I mean, storing electricity, that's one of the main challenges for the world right now.
On this, I've heard recently that Swatch, everybody knows the brand. Swatch is working with a French school of engineers that has developed a paper-based battery, and they are considering putting that paper-based battery in the watches. So that's where it's indeed just around the corner. It's not science fiction. We're not looking at next century. We're looking at tomorrow with fantastic opportunities.
And it's not just because it's bio-based or sustainable. It's a material that can actually compete to what you have on the market today on the specs and on the cost-wise. So that's I think that's something that we'll see in the years to come.
Well, clearly there's a great future ahead, so excellent.
We're in the right industry.
We're definitely in the right industry.